The mid-range and low-end Android space is becoming an increasingly competitive market, and LG wants to capitalize on that. The question is, can it? I'm Taylor Martin, this is Pocketnow, and this is our full review of the LG Lucid 3 on Verizon Wireless. Not everyone wants the best of the best. Whether it's due to a tight budget, fewer needs, or a smartphone simply being low priority, not everyone drools over the expensive, high-end flagship smartphones like we here at Pocketnow do. That's why low-end and mid-rangers still exist in mass. However, 2013 taught us low-end budget smartphones are not necessarily all bad. The question is, can LG's 2014 mid-ranger live up to the high standards its competitors' entry-level smartphones set? Let's take a look at LG's Lucid 3 on Verizon to find out. Hardware, and especially appearance, are not strong suits for the Lucid 3 by LG, as an entry-level smartphone that's understood and expected. But where devices like the G2 and Galaxy S4 were unmoving and felt cheap, the Lucid 3 takes that to a new level. The casing of the Lucid 3 is made almost entirely of a slick, slimy plastic not unlike the G2. The dark, patterned backside fades into the silver trim along the edges, and on the front you will find a combination of capacitive back and menu buttons flanking a physical home button. The home button, like on the G Pro, doubles as a multicolored notification LED, but it lacks proper tactile feedback. And the casing is like a never-ending ad with Verizon and LG emblems on both the front and back of the phone. At a quick glance, the Lucid 3 sort of resembles the G2 from LG, but upon closer inspection of the power and volume buttons, navigation buttons, and the finer details, it's clear these two are not so closely related. The story inside the casing is much of the same. It's powered by a 1.2 GHz quad-core CPU, 1 GB of RAM, and it comes with 8 GB of fixed storage, with a microSD card slot for up to 64 GB of additional storage. It has a 5-megapixel primary camera, VGA front camera, and a removable 2440 mAh battery. It also comes with a few standard connectivity options: NFC, Bluetooth 4.0, Wi-Fi BGN, and LTE on Verizon's network. The IPS display is like something straight out of 2012. Diagonally it measures 4.7 inches, but it bears a quarter HD resolution, 960 by 540 pixels. At times colors seem faded and other times they pop. Contrast is decent, but the black levels are fairly milky, side visibility is hit or miss, and the edges of text and icons are noticeably jagged. We've seen worse displays before, but it's definitely been a while. The Lucid 3, when you consider the price, free on contract or $12.49 per month for 24 months, isn't a terrible deal. At best, the hardware will squeeze a few yawns out of you. Then again, if you're worried about hardware and specifications, this isn't likely the phone for you anyway. With this phone, you're going to get much of the same experience you would expect of LG's more high-end devices. It comes running KitKat, Android version 4.4.2, beneath LG's heavily customized software. You get LG's Q-Slide apps, Quick Memo, Knock On, and some, not all, of the deep-seated customization options, such as LG's theme engine, the ability to change fonts, and the ability to rearrange quick setting toggles in the notification shade. However, you don't get slide aside or the G2's more granular features. Of course, geared towards first-time smartphone buyers, the Easy Home mode is also available, which puts the dialer and other important apps and services front and center on the device. If you've used an LG phone recently, you'll be very familiar with the software on the Lucid 3. It's missing a few of LG's core features, but the most important and useful features remain intact. The Lucid 3 wasn't exactly built for performance, so it's fortunate to be running KitKat, which significantly brought down the minimum system requirements of Android and supposedly boosted the performance on lower-end hardware. The Lucid 3's unnamed 1.2 GHz quad-core CPU manages to power through most everyday tasks with relative ease, though we didn't have to put the phone through too much stress to experience lag and hiccups. The application drawer sometimes takes a few seconds to load, the phone sometimes pauses before returning home, and task switching is noticeably slower on this phone than others of roughly the same caliber. Its performance and synthetic benchmarks only corroborate our findings. It's passable, but nothing impressive. We also experienced framerate drops in some lighter games like Roid Rage, which made the game nearly unplayable. On a lighter note, the network speeds have been great here in the Charlotte metro area, averaging downlink speeds around 15 megabits per second and uplink speeds consistently around 5 megabits. Call quality, on the other hand, wasn't quite as noteworthy. Callers were loud and crisp on our end, but we were told our audio was choppy and muffled. Battery life appears to be one of the few redeeming features of the Lucid 3. Through our testing, it managed to hold a charge pretty well, even through heavy usage: gaming, social updates, syncing 2 Gmail accounts, snapping pictures, and downloading apps. Most will have no trouble mustering a full day on a single charge, and if you do, LG has thrown in a power saver mode which kicks in at 30%. The camera continues the drab story, however. After the 1M8, we're not so quick to judge resolution alone, but the Lucid 3 simply doesn't take compelling images. Colors are true to life, but images lack sufficient detail and show a lot of noise even in bright outdoor photos. Low light is also subpar. It will suffice for basic camera needs, but don't expect to frame any of the pictures you take with the Lucid 3. In all, we can't say we're terribly moved by the Lucid 3, not necessarily because it's a bad phone or a poor choice, but rather because there are better deals available, cheaper phones with better specs and performance, a better overall user experience. 2 years ago, this phone would have been par for the course. Today, it feels out of place. The Lucid 3 is a great choice for first-time smartphone buyers who won't be turned off by things like a low-res display, all-plastic build, and slight stutters in performance. The phone is far from gorgeous and even further from being the best bargain around. It's lost somewhere in between the Nexus 5 and Moto G, a middle ground we're not certain even needs to exist. For a more in-depth look at the Lucid 3 and our final score, be sure to check out the written component of this review on the Pocketnow site. Folks, that's going to do it. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to click the thumbs up button below, and of course, subscribe to the channel to see more videos like this one in the future. Be sure to follow us in all the usual places, Twitter, Facebook, and Google+, and Pocketnow. I'm Taylor Martin. You can find me on Twitter at CasperTech, and I will see you next time.